Part 22. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 212. After lunch, as soon as Han Qian walked into the door of the general department, Yang Lan told Han Qian to go to Mr. Yan's office. Everyone's eyes instantly became ambiguous. Han Qian shrugged and turned to leave. This woman used her power to confront Mr. Yan in the company. He was calling back and forth, but he couldn't let her take advantage of it. Thinking that nothing would happen now, the security captain had prepared a sand basin. He went over to play cards to relax with an injured arm, but he had good luck with the cards. After playing for 20 minutes, the security captain got it. Han Qian's change was plundered, and Han Qian left with satisfaction. At this moment, Yan Qingqing had already made 2 phone calls. When he went to press the elevator button, he touched a white onion finger. The 2 fingers retracted as if they were electrocuted. Looking at the owner of the onion finger, Han Qian smiled. He was a half-acquaintance, the one from the public relations department. Han Qian really doesn't know what the name of the cold and cold sister is. Han Qian smiled, and the aloof sister Wan Fang nodded as a greeting. This woman would not waste a drop of saliva on someone who has interests in her. When the elevator opened and Han Qian walked into the elevator, Wan Fang frowned slightly. Followed in. In the elevator, there was a long distance between them. Han Qian went to the 11th floor, and Wan Fang went to the public relations department on the 10th floor. Neither of them had any intention of talking to each other. Han Qian looked at Miss Yalai with his mobile phone. Kai Ala's amulet grinned. Han Qian's careless smile made Wan Fang's hair stand on end, and she couldn't help but distance herself a little. Ding. When the elevator arrived, Wan Fang ran away without thinking. At that moment, 2 people were arguing not far outside the elevator. Li, I know you still like me, have you forgotten the story between us? Why did you reject me when I held my hand? Wu Zishuo, you are shameless. I have a boyfriend now. Let me go. Would you like me to tell your boyfriend what the girlfriend he likes looks like in bed? At this time, Han Qian and Wan Fang were both tilting their heads and looking at the 2 people outside the elevator. Could it be that Wu Zishuo's eyes were holes? Or is it that he deliberately let the people in the elevator hear that he and Li had been in a relationship before, and deliberately embarrassed Li? Han Qian didn't want to get involved in these things. Li wanted to be good with Sul Yang. That was her blessing. Han Qian never thought that his brother had such a beautiful figure and beautiful face as Yalai. It was from God. Favor. His brother is just the best. And this matter involved his brother. He walked out of the elevator and walked towards the 2 people not far away. Han Qian walked very slowly. The shaking and brain-changing activity had already affected Xiu's muscles. Wan Fang was a little panicked when he saw this. The bully of the general department is famously unreasonable and violent in the company. Regardless of Wu Zishuo's height of 1.83 meters and 6-pack abs, he is very likely to be beaten to death by the bully of the general department. Thinking of this, Wan Fang speeds up. He stepped forward, and a pair of high heels made a hasty sound on the floor tiles. Master Han, there may be some misunderstanding here. Mr. Han? When Wu Zishuo turned around, he saw Han Qian walking towards him, with his right arm wrapped in a bandage hanging around his neck, a smile on his face, and waving to him with his left hand. Come on, Shuashuo, let me miss you. Being ignored by this guy can lead to a good outcome. Wu Zishuo never expected to meet Han Qian here. Hasn't he not come to work for a long time? Wan Fang trotted to catch up with Han Qian, stretched out her hand and pressed Han Qian's right shoulder. Severe pain came from his shoulder. Han Qian turned around and slapped him in the face. The slap was only an inch away from Wan Fang's face. Han Qian said coldly. How dare you touch me when I don't let you touch me? Wan Fang was stunned to death. There was no warning about this man's attack. She could feel the wind from this hand. She couldn't help but stand in the same place, not daring to move, not even saying a word. Dare to say it? Han Qian turned around and hooked his hands at Wu Zishuo. Come on, what were you going to say to Yelai's boyfriend just now? Oh, by the way. Miss Yelai, if you only have one boyfriend, it should be Suliang from the general department, right? When Han Qian turned around and slapped Wan Fang, Li Li was already scared to death. She suddenly felt very aggrieved by the questions from Han Qian's boyfriends. She lowered her head and wiped her eyes, whispering, I only have one boyfriend. Han Qian nodded with satisfaction, slowly walked towards Wu Zishuo, and said with a faint smile. You gave me an amulet, and I called you sister-in-law. I think we are no longer ordinary friends. Suliang and I are very close. If he makes things difficult for you, I will tell Suliang how to solve this matter. It's Liang's business, but if he wants to make Suliang look bad, then it's my business, just like her, just stay still. When Han Qian was only 3 steps away from Wu Ranchuo, the 1.83-meter young man actually ran away. Han Qian curled his lips. If he tried now, he might not be able to defeat the Shuashuo. He slowly walked towards Wu Ranchuo and disappeared. Public Relations Department. When Wu Zishuo returned to the Public Relations Department, he went to find Sun Ya and loudly said that Han Qian wanted to hit him for no reason. Sun Ya, who was dealing with the task at hand, frowned at Wu Zishuo and whispered a lesson. Why are you provoking this famous bastard? I have 2 people here. Go and meet them. I've done some research and they all like your type. I can accept any conditions, but I can't accept anything that is detrimental to the interests of the company. The conditions are, I'll give you a bonus afterwards, take half a month's rest, and avoid that guy. Wu Zishuo almost cried when he looked at the list in Minister Sun's hand. Which ant was he going to accompany? It doesn't matter whether he is an ant or not. He is now afraid of being beaten, so he said anxiously with a sad face. Sister, I didn't provoke him, and now he is. Huh? What about me? I'm right here, Shuashuo. Come out and let us have a heart-to-heart talk. Unknowingly, Han Qian was already standing at the door of Sun Ya's office. Wu Zishuo was so frightened that he ran behind Sun Ya and trembled. Sun Ya closed her eyes and sighed, then stood up and smiled at Han Qian. What brought Mr. Han to my little temple? The girl here is very interested in Mr. Han. Han Qian curled his lips and said disdainfully. Don't act like an old madam. The good public relations department asked you to speak like a brothel. Either you are a big fan, or there is an ignorant young man who said that he was going to discuss Suliang. I happened to hear it. Is this just falling on deaf ears? Sun Ya stepped on Wu Zishuo's leather shoes hard, walked around the table and said with a smile. Master Han, what are you talking about? I want to introduce you to some beautiful sisters. You think I don't have enough peach blossoms now? Master Han, don't be so straight. Oh, my Master Han, why are you injured like this? Why are your shoulders bleeding? You don't know how I was injured? Or Vice President Gao doesn't know? The shoulder was scratched by a woman you introduced to us last time. I don't know what it's called. Give me Wu Zishuo and I'll slap her a few times. Just give him a slap and teach him a lesson. Why is this Han Qian so straight? Sun Ya instantly felt that her head was about to explode. She stopped talking about the swivel chair and said bravely. Young Master Han, you can ask Shuashuo to apologize any way you want, but you really can't hit me on this face. Han Qian nodded. Okay, if he doesn't come over, I'll go over by myself. After saying this, he walked towards Wu Zishuo. Now Wu Zishuo was holding a clothes hanger in his hand, as if he wanted to use it as a weapon. As soon as Han Qian took a step, he was stopped by Sun Ya. At this time, Sun Ya was about to cry, and sighed. Master Han. Can I beg you, please? Shuo has to meet 2 clients tonight, so you really can't hit him on this face. Like this. After the matter is over, you can hit him however you like, okay? No. Sun Ya felt bad when she heard these 2 words. Seeing Han Qian coming forward again, she quickly called Li Li and Wan Fang at the door to come and help. Sun Ya tried her best to persuade. Master Han, one of our customers has placed an order for a batch of goods. The order has been placed. There was no problem when the samples were sent for quality inspection. But no one expected that the other party's quality inspection department manager would find out. If she can't be stopped, mouth, which may cause the company to lose money. Han Qian stopped and tilted his head and asked. Isn't it a small amount? It's about 1 million, but this is the first time we have cooperated with the other party. In order to continue to cooperate happily in the future, the other party now puts forward 2 conditions, either to satisfy their quality inspection department manager and vice president, or to compensate refund. Then find someone else. Well, the other party asked Wu Zishuo to accompany him. After hearing this, Han Qian's eyes widened, he looked at Sun Ya, then at Wu Zishuo, and then at Sun Ya, with a strange look on his face. How old is the other vice president? Almost 50. Male. Female. Han Qian's anger instantly turned into sympathy. 30 is like a wolf, 40 is like a tiger, 50 is like sitting on the ground, these are unimaginable. Han Qian gave up decisively and said coldly to Wu Zishuo. You'd better keep your mouth honest, and I hope you come back safely. After saying that, he turned around and left. When he passed Li Li, Han Qian pointed at the girl and turned to look at Sun Yatio. There is no need to give her such tasks in the future, at least not while she is in love with Sul Yang. After saying that, he turned around and left. When he reached the door, he looked at Wan Fang coldly and said coldly. Stay away from me from now on, I think you're annoyed, so get out of here. When had this social butterfly been humiliated and disliked like this, but she still got out of the way obediently. She thought that if she didn't get out of the way next second, Han Qian would most likely whip her. Sun Ya covered her head and said helplessly. Go ahead, please be more polite when you see people in the general department. Also, Wu Zishuo, why are you going to provoke Lily and Sul Yang when you have nothing to do? You don't have a vacation anymore. Come back as soon as you're done. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 213. Whistling all the way back to the general department, everyone thought he came back from General Manager Yan's office and didn't ask any questions. In fact, Han Qian had forgotten about Yan Qingqing. When he returned to the general department, he was dragged by De Chiener to play a game. Han Qian knew this game. De Chiener played a berserker. Han Qian pinched his chin and whispered. How cute is the magician? The fighter is also very heroic. How can a girl like you play such a thing? This guy is so good. No one beats him and he still loses blood. De Chiener chuckled. I don't care if he's ugly or good looking, as long as he's great. Han Qian curled his lips and said. I think Sword Soul is the most handsome. De Qianer turned his head and glared, saying angrily. Brother Qianer, draw your sword. The red dog and the white gesture are incompatible. Seeing that Han Qian was about to leave, De Qianer grabbed Han Qian's clothes and feet and said pitifully. Brother, don't leave. I made a sky cover all morning. I put more than 2,000 in and only 2 came out. You try your luck. You have such a dark face, let's say it first. Until the point is reached. I'll give you 200. Han Qian did not advise those with big money not to top up their money. Everyone has their own hobbies. People with big money can spend a lot of money on games, clothes, and cosmetics. it seems to be a lot. Then a problem arises. Han Qian also got involved. 500 more. 500 more. When the second 500 was thrown in, everything was finally complete. Han Qian breathed a sigh of relief and felt a little distressed at the same time. But De Qianer didn't care about this at all. She didn't care about the money in the first place. Han Qian sat on the side and watched this. The girl wreaked havoc on the monsters in the copy. In this age where looks are important, villains are often designed to be ugly. Are you worried that players will not attack good-looking villains? Han Qian felt a little sleepy looking at him. Su Yang saw him kowtowing again and again, stood up and walked to Han Qian's side with a smile. Didn't you get a good rest last night? Stop sleeping. Let's have a chat. Tell us how you crashed into a truck while riding a bicycle. Han Qian turned his head and said contemptuously. Actually, I wanted to hit the tank. I can't find it. We're bored chatting. Deputy Lu came over and chatted with us. Lu Zhuolong smiled and said to make some tea, and then there was an atmosphere of chatting. Su Yang said in a coquettish manner to go to Yang Jia and order some melon seeds. Everyone put down their work and listened to Han Qian's vivid story. Party stuff. The last sentence was said by someone else. Everyone booed him in unison, but Han Qian didn't take it to heart and continued his stand-up comedy lively. Speaking of which, at that time, Na Ren was bathed in blood, which stimulated the fighting spirit of the human body. He exchanged fists with the man named Toad. The two stood there without dodging or speaking. They just placed their fists alternately on each other's cheeks. On the face, when the fist had no strength, I hit the other person's head with my forehead, and blood flowed down their head like water. I was even worse than now. Shan Shan asked, covering her mouth. It doesn't hurt. Han Qian narrowed his eyes and nodded, speaking softly. It hurts. You have to endure the pain. If you can't bear it, you will die. Brother Qianer, did you ever think about what would happen if you lost? I didn't think so. Halfway through the words, Han Qian noticed that Su Yang, Lu Zhuolong, and Shan Shan looked at him with worries and distress. Li Zhuolong's eyes were filled with anger. He lowered his head and cursed, I'll be punished by 1,000 knives. When Han Qian stood up with his shoulders held down by Yang Lan, Han Qian turned his head and raised his face and smiled innocently at Yang Lan. Sister Yang, did I make a mistake again? Yang Lan pressed Han Qian's left shoulder, looked down at Han Qian's face, shook his head with a gentle smile, and said softly. You didn't make a mistake. You did the right thing. You did something that many people want to do but don't dare to do. But don't do this again. We will all be worried about you. In the past, everyone in the general department would hope that you would stop causing trouble here. In the short month since you have been missing, we have found that the general department has become less lively without you. Han Qian continued his silly smile and said stupidly. Then I'm just a smelly fish who stirred up the fishy pot. After finishing her words, Shan Shan continued. Brother Qianer, you are wrong. We all received a salary increase of 500 yuan. I heard that Minister Ji said that it was decided unanimously by the company's President Yan and Vice President Gao. In that case, I want to drink Coke. As soon as Han Qian finished speaking, a young man got up and ran away. Within 10 minutes, he came back with a box of Coke. The atmosphere in the general department has really changed. Yang Lan sat aside and watched quietly as they gathered together to chat. It was great to be with them. It would be better if Deputy Lu could be more normal. How can there be so many wishes in life? In fact, what Han Qian said was terrible, but his colleagues were very supportive, and no one felt unhappy. Han Qian changed from the little bully of the general department to the darling of the group. During this period, Yan Qingqing came over in a fierce manner, and she was surrounded by everyone. Han Qian in the middle, she smiled and said softly. Yang Jia, Let's go, don't disturb them, prepare for the cooperation between the general department and the project department, tell the advertising department to also prepare for negotiations with the general department, and start preparing for the promotion and investment of the furniture mall. Tell this person 3 ministers, I want all the shops inside to be rented out before opening, Han Qian will take responsibility if it fails. Xiao Yangjia asked weakly as he followed behind him holding the document. Isn't this a bit unfair to Han Qian? Then you'll take the responsibility. I think Han Qian is okay. I will explain to Mr. Yan right away. Little Yang Jia ran away on a pair of high heels. Yan Qingqing looked at the little girl's back and smiled. At this time, her cell phone rang. Grandpa, your grandson called you again. Hearing the ringtone, Yan Qingqing's smile disappeared instantly. She took out her phone and whispered. Director Lu. Lu Shenga on the other side of the phone said softly. I have been hearing Gao Jishi mention a man named Han Qian recently. I received a piece of news a few days ago. He seems to have a lot to do with Feng Lun. He seems to know the dark side of the Yamanmen. You can find a way to get it? He knows something and tells me. Upon hearing this, Yan Qingqing's face turned dark instantly. How could she not understand how important and dangerous the matter in Han Qian's hands was? Now that Han Qian doesn't expose this matter, he will have the initiative, but once Lu Shenga finds out, this guy will never make it easy for Han Qian. Yan Qingqing took a deep breath and replied in a deep voice. Sorry, I cannot do it. The other end of the phone let out a soft sigh and then said. Give me a reason not to let you leave the company. I like Han Qian. The other end of the phone was silent and sighed after a long silence. Qingqing, I have always regarded you as my student, sister, and even you are the only woman who has the opportunity to be by my side. Since you like him, it is a matter of course for me, Lu Shenga, so you don't have to get involved in this matter. Remember, it's you who don't have to get involved. After saying that, Lu Shenga hung up the phone. In a courtyard in the capital, Lu Shenga, who was so handsome that even women were jealous, stood in the courtyard. He opened the birdcage, and a yellow bird flew out and landed on his shoulder obediently. Lu Shenga looked at the yellow bird with eyes full of tenderness. It's better for you not to leave me and accompany me to Jingxi. Go and see how powerful Han Qian is, who is regarded as a treasure by both Jianling and Yan Qingqing. The yellow bird pecked Lu Shenga's ear, and each bird left the courtyard. Is it a dragon crossing the river? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 214. When he was about to get off work, Han Qian remembered that he hadn't reported to Yan Qingqing yet, so he pushed open the door with an arm that was not very useful and said softly. Mr. Yan, please call me. Yan Qingqing, who was working on the document, didn't even raise her head, and said with her nose. Han Qian walked to the desk, looked at the turtle on the paper, and said doubtfully. Is this what you're busy with this afternoon? Yan Qingqing nodded seriously, then stood up and put her hands on Han Qian's face. Looking at Han Qian's forced pout, Yan Qingqing felt distressed. What should I do? Lu Shenga has already set his sights on you. He asked me to get the secret in your hands, then I said no. I said I like you, Han Qian. It's very troublesome to mess with this guy. Han Qian, who had his face pressed, asked awkwardly. Will he resist the beating? Yan Qingqing rubbed Han Qian's face and complained softly. Can you please stop thinking about solving problems with your fists? Forget it. Lu Shenga can't suddenly come over now, he won't be so impulsive, right? Where were you yesterday? You didn't answer the phone when I called you. I knocked on your door but you didn't answer. That Zheng Jing told me that you went out in the morning and never came back. Han Qian knocked the catkins off his face and curled his lips. Zheng Jing is quite concerned about my whereabouts. I went to Tu Xiao's place yesterday and stayed at Nuan's parents' place at night. You see, I'm almost fine now. Although I can't move my arm yet, I can live a good life. Take care of yourself. Yan Qingqing sighed and lamented. I know, you think I don't know anything, and you think I'm a hindrance. Hey. I'm being disliked. Han Qian frowned and curled his lips. Can you behave a little better? Isn't that? Han Qian's phone always rang regardless of the occasion or location. When he took out his mobile phone and looked at the number on it, Han Qian hurriedly answered the phone and said softly. Old man? Do you still remember that you have a son? You're still in the mood, so it seems like you'll be fine. I heard that something happened to you not long ago, and I'm a little worried about Xianyuan. The security is tight. Nothing is wrong. Old man, last time we talked about rebuilding the house at home, are you talking about rebuilding it now or in the spring? Hee, as a son, I really can't bear to hurt you. I don't have money to say anything. The old man on the other side of the phone was very calm and said expressionlessly. Are you rich? Your own or warm? My own, I still have more than 60,000 in hand. Let's talk about it in the spring. Come back early during the new year. When Han Qian was arguing with the old man, Yan Qingqing sneaked close to Han Qian and eavesdropped. When Han Qian asked the old man how the crops were, Yan Qingqing suddenly spoke. Hello, Dad. I am Han Qian's girlfriend, and my name is Yan Qingqing. As soon as he said this, Han Qian's hand shook and the phone fell to the ground. He then bent down to pick it up. After checking that there was no damage to the phone, Han Qian carefully held the phone to his ear and asked tentatively. Old man, you didn't hear anything just now, right? The voice was very calm. After hearing this, Han Qian closed his eyes and breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, the old man's voice came again. You remember the last time I told you to order a coffin for you, right? I'm going to pay the deposit now, son. Listen to daddy and don't get fat. Toot toot. The phone was hung up, and Han Qian stood there blankly. The old man was not angry, but this was more terrifying than being angry. When had he not been beaten without being carried to the yard and started beating him indiscriminately? The robot turned his head and looked at the triumphant culprit. Han Qian put the phone on the table, smiled at Yan Qingqing, reached out and pinched the back of Yan Qingqing's fateful neck, raised his leg and faced the girls. Lifting the buttocks is just a kick, he cursed angrily. You are stupid. What my old man despises the most in his life is a man who is philandering and shows mercy. If I don't die during the Chinese New Year this year, I will take your humming last name. Yan Qingqing covered her buttocks with both hands, blushing and laughing. Then tell your dad to find another daughter-in-law. Even if you put on a stinky face all day long, your parents-in-law won't like her. Look at me. How suitable she is. Ah. Han Qian let out a self-deprecating laugh, sighed helplessly and said. In my family, the person with the highest family status is my mother, then there is Warmth, my old man, Wang Wang the dog, then the chickens in the henhouse, then the eggs, and finally me, Yan Qingqing. Yan Qingqing, you personally killed a hero who was dedicated to helping you ascend the throne. It's okay. I'll go home with you to explain during the Chinese New Year. My parents have my sister with them, so they don't need me. Looking at this careless woman, Han Qian didn't want to talk anymore. He walked to the sofa and fell down. How could he live his life like this? What a sin. Yan Qingqing glanced at Han Qian, then at the mobile phone on the table, and she gave a sinister smile. In a rural area on the edge of the city, green smoke has risen from the chimneys of the mud houses in the village. Children after school are running on the country roads. An old man is smoking a cigarette with his hands behind his back and walking towards a house in the deepest part of the village with a gloomy face. Go and find out how much the coffin costs. After returning home from get off work, Han Qian stood in front of the company, struggling. Take a taxi? Reluctant to part with it? Don't want to take a taxi? It's hard to get on the bus. How about walking back? Wearing a suit jacket, smoking a cigarette and walking like a stranger, Han Qian strolled on the way home. Unfortunately, before he had walked a mile, the white Panamera stopped beside Han Qian and opened the window. Wen Nuan squinted and smiled. Hey, there's no one to see off the great hero of the honor group after get off work? It's so sad. Han Qian narrowed his eyes and curled his lips. You, a swan, know my ambition as a sparrow. After saying that, he opened the car door and got into the car. He whispered that he had overestimated himself. The distance was enough for him to walk for an hour. Nuan drove the car and cursed an unruly miser. After hearing this, Han Qian looked angry and slapped him. On his own legs, he shouted angrily. What's going on? It's against the law. Wen Nuan squinted at Han Qian and pouted. Don't shout. I'll cook for you when you get home. There are two nightmares in Han Qian's life. These two nightmares frighten him very much, and there are also two crises that can never cross domains. What the old man said is waiting for you to come home. The other is a warm chemical kitchen. If one day there was news that a woman developed a bomb in the kitchen, Han Qian would definitely not believe it. How could it be possible? But if this woman was warm, he would believe even the atomic bomb. Han Qian took out his wallet and asked tentatively in a low voice. Here, Miss Nuan, let's go out to eat. It doesn't matter whether the food you cook is delicious or not. What matters is whether you can survive. No. You have to go home to eat. Han Qian was desperate. He picked up the mineral water from the passenger seat, unscrewed the bottle cap with his teeth and drank it in one gulp. He threw the bottle away and burped. Hiccup. I'm full. But when Han Qian got off the car, he regretted it. Tanjio was waiting for him and Nuan at the gate of the community with vegetables in his hands. Today, Tanjio was wearing a floral dress, a goose yellow sweater, and two braids. A bit kind of nice to look at. After seeing Nuan, Tongyao raised her hand and smiled and waved. As for Han Qian, ignored. The warm car stopped outside the community. He got out of the car and took the food from Tongyao's hand, smiling. Thank you for your hard work, Teacher Tong. Nursery rhyme said with a silly smile. It's not hard. It can be done by one person or two people. Where is Han Qian? Han Qian stood directly in front of the nursery rhyme, no more than 10 meters away. This bitch definitely did it on purpose. Belch. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 215. After the meal, nursery rhyme left. When she arrived, Nuan gave her a new model of bag. The silly monster didn't refuse, and left with a silly smile and satisfaction. When she went out, she also hit Zheng Jing, who was also going out. Call. Han Qian was sitting on the sofa, fiddling with the computer with one hand. He was preparing a plan, which he would leave to the general department for future use. The plan was not difficult, but this hand was a little troublesome. He didn't want Nuan to help him yet. It's time to talk about being partial or not. Looking at the girl clumsily doing fruit fishing, Han Qian was a little helpless. Eat half a banana and cut it in half. She had to drink some yogurt first, and then put it in the fruit. Just like this, she was full after it was done. And she has just finished her meal. This girl has eaten a lot. Where is the food? No breasts and no belly. When the fruit appeared in front of him, Han Qian was slightly startled, tilted his head and asked. For me? Wen Nuan nodded vigorously and said in a very polite manner. You are injured, and it is natural for my sister to take care of you. It's time to make a career. Han Qian was not polite. He dug out a piece of kiwi fruit with a small spoon and threw it into his mouth. It tasted pretty good. After closing the computer, Han Qian began to take fruit fishing seriously. He used to eat it just to watch Nuan himself, but he didn't expect it after getting injured. And this treatment. While eating, Wen Nuan took Han Qian's mobile phone. Han Qian didn't take it to heart and asked casually. You asked teacher Tong to come over and cook for the two of us? It's not a good idea to bother them so much. Let's go out to eat after get off work and then go home. Seeing that Wen Nuan had no reaction after saying this, Han Qian continued while eating some fruit. Forget it, actually this is quite good. She cooks alone, and the three of us do the same, but can you learn to use the washing machine? I have to wash clothes with one hand. Nuan still didn't speak, but this time she raised her head, threw the phone to Han Qian, then snatched the spoon and fruit from Han Qian's hand and stuffed them all into her mouth in one breath, her mouth stretched like a hamster. Han Qian frowned and whispered. Don't eat too much. Just think about it as soon as you think about it. Then go downstairs for a walk. After saying that, he picked up the phone and turned on the screen. Han Qian was no longer calm. He slowly raised his head and looked at Wen Nuan and said seriously. Do you believe me when I say I don't know what's going on? Wen Nuan shook his head vigorously, then stood up and pressed Han Qian's head with both hands. Han Qian spoke quickly when he saw this. Can't you just stop committing domestic violence? I don't know when her phone was taken away by her and she changed the photos. Besides, if I knew, I definitely wouldn't show it to you. Do you still want to show it to me? Han Qian. I bought you a mobile phone and you just hid it from me, right? Where is this? Han Qian was at a loss for words. The background of the phone's screen was a photo of Yan Qingqing. She seemed to have just taken a shower. She was wearing a white shirt. Different from the heavy makeup in the past, Yan Qingqing without makeup looked like a rose after the rain. Knowing that he could not escape this disaster, Han Qian covered his forehead with his hands, closed his eyes and said helplessly. Bring it on. After waiting for a long time and not feeling the warm headbutt, Han Qian carefully opened his eyes and found that the girl had huddled in the corner of the sofa with his mobile phone, pouting and taking various selfies of scissor hands, but she didn't seem to have any. I was so satisfied that I started tinkering with the two mobile phones again. While playing, the girl burst into tears because of herself, looking at Han Qian with a pitiful pout. Han Qian was a little confused again. How on earth can a creature like a woman understand what she is thinking? Said softly. What's wrong? This question made Nuan cry and choke slightly. Han Qian, the photo of us going to the hot spring is gone. It's all gone in that phone. I thought it was something. If it's gone, it's gone. No. You are filming with me now. In the next hour, Han Qian sat on the sofa and became a model. Wen Nuan held a wig, a headband, and a bow tie and began to torture him. Han Qian was typing on the computer with one hand, without delaying anyone. Wen Nuan had enough fun and took a few photos but was not satisfied and complained softly. The pixels of the mobile phone are too poor. I'm going to buy a SLR. Han Qian, do you prefer Sony or Canon? It's useless to ask you. Buying a SLR and letting Yan Qingqing take photos of the two of us is exciting just thinking about it. Han Qian turned around and smiled. I don't know if it will be filmed or not, but I know that if you dare to give it to her, she will smash it for you. Let someone else take the picture, and let Tong Yao or Sul Yang take the picture. As we chatted, our warm eyes lit up. Han Qian, let's take wedding photos. At night, Han Qian lay sideways on the tatami and looked at the stars in the sky outside the window. Wen Nuan arranged herself into a big character and lay next to Han Qian. She occupied 2/3 of the tatami, and Han Qian only had a small corner. After 3 minutes of silence, Nuan suddenly got up and got out of bed. "I forgot about changing your dressing. I will be satisfied if you remember that I am alive." A few minutes later, Han Qian sat in front of the window with his bare back, and Wen Nuan carefully removed the bandage on Han Qian's shoulder. It was dyed red again. Nuan didn't ask the reason. Maybe Han Qian wouldn't tell the truth. She was stunned when she saw the 3 scars on Han Qian's back, and then fell into memories. These were the scars she had left in the first year of her marriage to Han Qian. At that time, because of the pressure from the company, she drank wine at home, lay on the sofa in a daze and fell asleep. When I woke up in the middle of the night, I forgot about getting married to Han Qian. I went to the bathroom with my bare feet and eyes closed. Han Qian had just finished taking a shower. This was the first time Han Qian was exposed in front of Wen Nuan, and it was also Wen Nuan's first time. Once she saw a living naked man appearing in front of her. She was stunned at that time, then she let out a scream and covered her eyes, turned around and ran away. Unfortunately, she had drunk too much and had no motor nerves. She turned her head and hit the doorframe. She was about to fall, but Han Qian hugged her. In panic, her nails scratched Han Qian's back. She remembered that her fingernail was broken. She still remembered that it was really painful and her fingers were bleeding. She sat in the bathroom and cried loudly, crying that she was only 23 years old. Why marry a man you don't know and don't like? Why did her parents not allow her to continue contacting Lin Zongheng? Why no one ever helps her at work? Why are her fingers bleeding now? She still remembered that Han Qian wrapped her in a bath towel and put her on the sofa. Then he hurriedly ran back and forth to find the medicine box. He gently cut off his nails inch by inch with a nail clipper, and asked in a low voice if she could send him back. If he goes to jail, he will never take a shower at home again. Wen Nuan remembered how humble Han Qian was at that time, but Han Qian was disgusting in her eyes at that time. How could a man be so coward? She still remembered that the words she scolded were unpleasant, and she even remembered that Han Qian was just apologizing. Bandage her finger. She even remembered that the next morning, there were no wounds on her fingers, but her nails were sore. The blood belongs to Han Qian. At that time, Wen Nuan didn't care about Han Qian's life or death at all. Only today did she know how seriously Han Qian's injuries were. How deep does it have to go to leave a scar? Warm fingers traced the 3 scars and whispered. You must have hated me at that time. It was you who was obviously injured, but I was the one who was bandaged and messed up. What? When did you act up when I was injured? Wen Nuan smiled and did not speak. She knew that Han Qian remembered everything. He remembered everything, but this was not the time when he fell in love with Han Qian. But every little thing in life. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 216. Wen Nuan carefully removed the bandage that had been stuck to the blood scab with tweezers. Han Qian's shoulders were shaking, but he didn't even take a heavy breath. Wen Nuan put the blood-stained bandage into the small box and looked at it. When Han Qian's wound was healed, he blew a gentle breath. This breath seemed to blow away the pain, but it also brought back memories. After a year of getting along with each other, Wen Nuan and Han Qian have become very familiar with each other. They would joke with each other, and Wen Nuan would not let Han Qian go out to take a shower. On the crazy anniversary day, Han Qian had a quarrel for the first time after they got married. The reason was that Han Qian threw the crabs she bought back before she could eat them into the fish tank and raised them, and then they were eaten by Wen Nuan. Han Qian sat at the dining table that day without saying a word. Han Qian didn't answer several times when Nuan spoke. This made the proud Wen Nuan lose control of his temper. He stretched out his hand and threw the crabs on the table to the ground. He stood up and said angrily, "Why are you so angry with me? I bought the crabs, I gave you your freedom, and this home belongs to me." Han Qian didn't say anything at that time. He just squatted on the ground and picked up the crabs one by one. He said a lot in detail. Han Qian had been raising these crabs for half a month. He had nothing to do at home, so he took good care of them every day. I looked at the flowers and plants at home, the fish in the fish tank, and these crabs. Wen Nuan could see the reluctance in Han Qian's heart as she said something in detail, but she was very angry at the time. She scolded Han Qian angrily and told him to leave if she didn't want to suffer here. She also remembered what Han Qian said at that time. "Send me to prison. I'll admit it in 3 years, and I'll admit it in 10 years. Is it because of these crabs? Yes, it's because of these crabs that they spit bubbles at me when I go to feed them, instead of a woman who has to shut me up even if she talks on the phone at the dinner table. We are employers, and so do you. You can make it clear earlier that I am a nanny and I don't deserve to sit on this table, but you don't need to kill them to disgust me and keep me away from this table so as not to affect your phone calls. When did I stop letting you talk when I was on the phone? When did I disgust you with a few crabs? I just wanted to eat. I just said that I ate very slowly when I was on the phone. You can put the ones I don't want to eat first. Get out. When did I tell you to shut up?" The first wedding anniversary was very unpleasant, but at that moment Nuan didn't realize that she had already begun to explain to Han Qian that since that time, Nuan would not answer the phone at the dinner table, or anyone else's phone. Thinking of this, Nuan whispered, "Actually, you have a bad temper. You just don't want to get angry." Han Qian chuckled softly. "What are you thinking about?" Wen Nuan shook his head and didn't say anything. He wiped the wound with alcohol. This time Han Qian made a sound of pain. Then he took the clothes and bit it in his mouth. Wen Nuan moved quickly and applied the medicine quickly, saying softly, "Not the first time. I remember." In the second year after marriage, the relationship between Wen Nuan and Han Qian changed quickly after the quarrel. Han Qian would replace Wen's coffee with yogurt without consent, and would also throw Wen's underwear into the washing machine to wash together. When Nuan comes home, he and Han Qian will sit on the sofa and watch cartoons, and tell about the troubles encountered in the company and some jokes he saw online. Han Qian will listen carefully every time and wait for a few days. Some coping plans will appear on her computer. She knew all this warmth, but she felt that there was no need to tell others about the two of them, which led to her being scolded by Li Jinhe as a white-eyed wolf. And the warmth given in return will not come back after buying crabs and live shrimps. A few days later, Nuan was obsessed with boiled meat slices and mak siu wang. The spicy food caused intestinal cramps. Nuan remembered that she had only one thought at that time, that she wanted to die. "It felt like my intestines were in knots, as if a needle had pierced it." She gritted her teeth to prevent herself from crying. At that time, the person on the phone was still asking her what was wrong and to drink more water, but Nuan had no intention to listen. When she felt like she was going to be hurt to death, Han Qian broke into the door without saying a word, and carried her out. She watched in Han Qian's arms as this man also tried his best to stop him on the road at night. Cars, taxis, private cars, trucks, finally he put down the warmth and simply rushed to the middle of the road. Neither of the two inexperienced people knew the cause of the excruciating pain. Han Qian has many illnesses in his mind: appendicitis, intestinal perforation. Wrapped in Han Qian's pajamas, he was also standing on the road with his bare back that day. Leaves fell all over the ground. Winter has come. In the hospital, the doctor checked that it was intestinal spasm and gave me an injection to relieve the spasm. The warmth felt much better, but it only lasted half an hour before the severe pain started again. I remember Han Qian grabbing the doctor's collar and roaring, and I remember him running around in the hospital. From 11 o'clock in the evening to 6 o'clock in the morning, Nuan fell asleep in a daze. Before falling asleep, Nuan showed a smile to Han Qian's back. It's nice to have someone around. Perhaps cooperation with this man is the most correct choice. Thousands of words cannot solve the pain of illness. But a hug, maybe. Nuan wrapped Han Qian's wound with a bandage, moving very gently, and finally kissed the tied bow. I don't dare to eat spicy food anymore. But Han Qian didn't feel the kiss. After bandaging the wound, Han Qian turned his head and smiled at Wen Nuan. Don't eat takeout yet, it's unhygienic. Takeout? This was a nightmare that had tortured Nuan for half a year. That was 2 or 3 months into the 3rd year after getting married. Since being discharged from the hospital, the call time on Nuan's phone has become shorter and shorter, and more time is spent sitting in the living room with Han Qian, playing small games, and watching TV series and cartoons. Occasionally I would sing a song at home, but I got complained several times. That time, Han Qian helped her deal with something. He worked all night and all morning, and then fell asleep in the afternoon. At night, Nuan thought that she didn't want Han Qian to get up and cook. She ordered takeout, but what was delivered was not a delivery boy, a casually dressed man. When the man threw away the takeaway and walked through the door, closing the security door at the same time, Nuan knew that she was in danger. She stepped back step by step under the man's approach. Her mind told her at that time, "My husband is at home and there are men at home." Wen Nuan screamed eagerly, and it was also the first time Wen Nuan shouted husband in her life. His voice was urgent and frightened. Han Qian, who was sleeping, suddenly stood up and rushed out of the bedroom wearing a pair of shorts. When he saw the strange man reaching out to grab Wen Nuan, Han Qian exploded, rolled over the sofa, and hid Wen behind him. Stepped forward and fought with this man. When Han Qian beat the man miserably and threw him out the door, people from the city bureau were already arriving. That was also the day when Li Jinhai met Han Qian, his nephew and son-in-law, for the first time. It was just a face-to-face meeting. Han Qian was injured, and this time it was Nuan's turn to rush around to bandage Han Qian's wound. At that moment, she felt distressed and at ease. When she saw this man risking his life to fight the gangster with a knife for her, Wen Nuan was really moved, and the guy who kept asking questions on the phone made her disgusted. Say husband, and there will be a man who will fight tooth and nail for you. This is much more heartwarming than those guys who always talk about socializing and acting and call you Xiao Nuan. I remember the next day, Nuan stood at the door of the kitchen and called her husband 4 times. This silly guy knew that he was calling him. The warmth at this moment smiled and said softly, "Husband." Han Qian's body trembled, he looked at Wen Nuan and begged, "Can you stop eating popsicles?" Moi. The most unforgettable thing about Wen Nuan was the words of this man standing on the 2nd floor covered in blood and holding a gun. "Let my woman leave first. Do you like it? Like. Do you want to? Willing. Will you let go?" "I will never let go in this life, never." Nuan sat in front of Han Qian and said softly, "Husband. I'll buy you some popsicles." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 217. Feelings accumulate over time, and so does love. Han Qian doesn't believe in love at first sight, nor does Wen. Love at first sight is about the face, and what matters in life is character. There are many handsome men around him, such as Wu Zishuo and Lin Zongheng. They are all handsome, but what about their characters? Of course, they must have more suitors and objects of admiration than Han Qian, much more. When Nuan didn't ask Han Qian to buy ice cream, she basically didn't eat it when she wasn't visiting relatives. She lay on the bed covered with a quilt, raised her right hand and looked at the ring on her ring finger, and Nuan Wen giggled. Han Qian, you are being taken care of by me. Han Qian ignored the girl who had convulsions in the middle of the night and lay on the tatami bed. After a few minutes, he breathed evenly and fell asleep. The next morning was another busy day. When I went out, I met my neighbor Zheng Jing again. The other person greeted him with a smile and asked if the couple were going to work. When Nuan ignored them with a cold face, Han Qian shrugged and nodded. Nuan sent Han Qian to the door of the company, asked Han Qian if he could drive, and left the car here while driving. Han Qian glanced at his arm and shook his head gently. It's not convenient to drive, and there's nothing to do at the company. Just ask Suliang to drive me in the company car when I go out. Drive slowly, and call me if you need anything. Know it? Han Qian walked up the steps. The security captain gestured to Han Qian's pocket, indicating that he had money to play cards. Han Qian scratched the air with his hand. He originally wanted to express that he wanted it all, but in the end, he missed the girl who was walking in front of him. He screamed in fear, covered his chest and ran away. As soon as the girl ran away, Gao Jishi and Yang Jia walked out of the two elevators respectively. Gao Jishi strode past Han Qian and chuckled softly. Li Dahai is not that easy to deal with. Do you have a way to deal with Li Dongsheng? Have. Neither of them stopped. Han Qian walked towards Yang Jia, and Gao Xinggao strode out of the company. He had his own things to do. Little Yang Jia stood in front of Han Qian and, like a magic trick, took out a box of yogurt and handed it to Han Qian. The latter did not rush to pick it up and smiled. What's the matter first? Tell Mr. Yan to give me a little salary increase. Since Brother Qianer came to the company, I have to arrive at the company an hour early almost every day. 200. 200 is fine. Han Qian took out 200 yuan from his wallet and put it in Yang Jia's hand, took the yogurt and said disdainfully. Look at how promising you are, huh? Have I been working for a full month? I'll go to Mr. Yan and ask for my salary. Just in time, Mr. Yan asked me to come over and wait for you. Brother Qianer is the most handsome. You can buy chocolates. Little Yang Jia hugged Han Qian's arm, her face was full of joy, and she didn't care about other people's eyes. In glory, she could chew other people's tongues, and no one dared to talk about her behind her back. She was the general manager's secretary. A former third-grade official? When Han Qian pushed open the door of Yan Qingqing's office, little Yang Jia had already run away. When Han Qian came, Mr. Yan's heart was with him, and then she could go to the general department to chat. When she walked into the office, Yan Qingqing happened to come out of the lounge. When she saw Han Qian standing at the door, Yan Qingqing breathed a sigh of relief, and then said angrily. I didn't even knock on the door when I came in. I just changed my clothes and little Yang Jia ran away again. Han Qian nodded while drinking yogurt and said vaguely. Maybe he ran away. Maybe he was busy at the general department. Mr. Yan, I came today for an important matter in my life. Are you ready to marry me? You're in a bit of a hurry. I'll get the household registration book. Where is this going? Han Qian threw the yogurt box into the trash can and said helplessly. I came here to ask about my salary and what kind of marriage I should get. My hunger is not over yet. Yan Qingqing was already sitting in her exclusive seat, looking at Han Qian with an evil look in her eyes and pouting. Is this a major event in your life? You want a salary, right? Okay, I'll do the math for you. It's been less than 2 months since you started working, and if you were injured and hospitalized for half a month, your salary won't be deducted. There was no pay, I was late for 17 days, I left 9 days early, I was absent from work for 2 days without any reason, and I refused to work overtime. Han Qian looked a little embarrassed, and Yan Qingqing continued indifferently. There was a fight on official business, with the son of a company director, and I beat the director's wife. I smoked 27 times in the corridor, 7 times in the toilet, and broke 2 chairs in the general department and a computer monitor. Excluding salary, you need to compensate. The company pays 571 yuan, card or cash. Han Qian frowned and said in confusion. I've been working for 2 months in total. Do I still need to take a ride? Yan Qingqing nodded. You are right. I have this for you. As expected, Feng Lun wanted to give it to you. I kind of admire teacher Tong's thinking. Han Qian took a document bag and opened it. There were several pieces of paper inside, which clearly recorded Luo Shanda's criminal records. The time, place, and name of the other party were also recorded in detail. Putting away the documents, Han Qian grinned at Yan Qingqing. Call Luo Shanda and tell him to immediately give up targeting Feng's Haida and immediately turn around to investigate Li Dehai's details, but don't alert him. Also, ask him if he has time to go to Huidu at 7 p.m. on July 13 next year. Have a game. Yan Qingqing frowned and said dissatisfied. Why are you going to a place like that? I won't fight, you fight yourself. My mobile phone is being monitored. I'll use this to make nonsense calls. Seriously, you can help me. Will you ask Yang Jia to buy me a mobile phone card later? Yan Qingqing reluctantly dialed the phone and conveyed the message to Luo Shanda. The latter readily agreed and scolded Han Qian severely. Yan Qingqing wanted to hang up the phone, but Han Qian stopped him and let him go. Luo Shanda was cursing people there. After cursing for 5 or 6 minutes, Luo Shanda hung up the phone pantingly. Yan Qingqing looked at the phone and raised her head to glance at Han Qian, curling her lips. Not angry. Han Qian chuckled. If you want the horse to run, you have to give it some grass. Just scold it and do the work it needs to do. Yan Qingqing curled her lips, then called Xiao Yangjia and asked her to buy a mobile phone card. She asked Han Qian if he had the number he wanted, the kind of 3 or 4 consecutive numbers. Han Qian curled his lips and said that he didn't have any requirements. Something to make a phone call. Han Qian spent the whole morning in Yan Qingqing's office, but it was Han Qian who sat in the general manager's chair. Yan Qingqing stood aside like a secretary, and all the documents on the table were handed over to Han Qian for processing. Han Qian was very charming when he frowned and worked hard. Yan Qingqing stared at Han Qian's face like a nymphomaniac. Then when she reached out to touch her phone, Han Qian slapped her on the back of her hand and said softly. Don't be ridiculous. Yesterday, Wen Nuan found out and almost beat me to death. When I came out in the morning, the picture on the screen was Wen. I had already changed it to landscape painting, so don't make trouble. With this wave of her hand, Yan Qingqing noticed the ring on Han Qian's ring finger. Her face darkened instantly. She took a deep breath, grabbed Han Qian's collar and raised it in front of her, saying angrily. Are you remarried to Nuan? Han Qian shook his head in confusion. No. Then what's going on with this ring? Isn't it because of you? Okay. Her warmth is starting to disgust me, isn't it? The next second, Yan Qingqing's lips pressed against Han Qian's lips. Soft. Cool. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 218. The first time was with Jijing after being drunk, and that time it wasn't a kiss. The second time was a tongue kiss in his sleep. Han Qian didn't know who the other person was. But this time he clearly felt and saw Yan Qingqing. After the 4 lips briefly touched, Yan Qingqing seemed very dissatisfied, stretched out her hand to grab little Han Qian, looked at Han Qian and said angrily. If you dare to remarry Wen Nuan, I will destroy you. Han Qian, let me tell you very bluntly today, Nuan Wen will never get your virginity in this life. You still need a watch, right? Let's go. Go buy a watch, for a couple. Don't find any excuses from me, you are single now, you are divorced. No. I have to tell Nuan that your little treasury is in my hands. Okay, you think I can't die fast enough, don't you? Han Qian stood up, took out a tissue and wiped the lipstick from the corner of Yan Qingqing's mouth, laughing softly. I'm the one who got hurt when you two got angry, you. Just let me relax for a while. I'm too tired. You can think of a way to let out the news about me threatening Luo Shanda. Don't let too many people know. Finally, it's better to just spread it within the Yamen gate. Yan Qingqing did not resist, letting Han Qian wipe off her lipstick bit by bit, and replied with an embarrassed look. This is a bit difficult. I may have to ask Director Qian what he means. You asked Luo Shanda to deal with Li Dehai. Now do you want to abandon Luo Shanda? Abandon? Han Qian shook his head with a smile, took out a piece of paper again to wipe the lipstick on his lips, and then smiled. It's not abandonment, but another kind of protection. Only certain departments in the Yamen are independent. Others are basically figured out. Who doesn't understand whom? I can control Luo Shanda's, and I can control theirs, and these guys the position is not small, and the people below them don't want their backers to fall. I also want to try to see if it can help me solve Feng Haida's problem. At least the Yamen where he works definitely doesn't have any good impressions of me. Yan Qingqing stretched out her hand to hold Han Qian's face and said distressedly. You are trying to make an enemy of this Yamenman. You are trying to threaten them. You will be in danger. Han Qian flicked Yan Qingqing's forehead and smiled. If it's not dangerous, you won't be able to get the shares in Li Dehai's hands, and you won't be able to protect your position in glory. Besides, if I want to make money, I need them to make it easier for me. Well, I'm not a good person. You are my beloved. Meeting Yan Qingqing's loving eyes, Han Qian panicked, turned around and ran away due to the quarrel and hunger. It's already past lunchtime. Han Qian managed to escape all the way back to the general department. He was really afraid that he couldn't control himself. This fox's moral character is too high. I want to hone my mind as a young man. But why are the lips so soft? Returning to the general department, Han Qian smiled when he saw the two thermos buckets on the table. He smiled. Suliang and De Chiener looked at Han Qian with resentful eyes, especially De Chiener, and complained directly. Why did you come back just now? We are all waiting to taste my sister-in-law's cooking skills. If you don't come back, Deputy Lu won't let us eat, so we won't even have lunch. Han Qian scratched his head in embarrassment, raised his foot and kicked the back of Suliang's chair, and whistled at Fang Shanshan. Let's go. Let's go eat. I'm familiar with the cafeteria and there must be food. Let's go and eat. The five guys were just about to go out when Yang Lan opened the door and handed a thermos box to Han Qian, saying softly. I heard Jing Jing say you like dumplings, take them. Remember to clean them when you come back. Suliang squeezed past Lu Zhuolong, who was about to step forward to pick up the thermos box, and grinned. Sister Yang, do you still need a younger brother? I need an older sister. Yang Lan nodded Suliang's forehead and smiled. Bad boy, go and eat quickly. Well, it's going to get cold soon. After dinner, you guys can stop by and see if there is any coffee machine shop. Well, older ones, it's going to get cold. Come in the morning. Warm yourself up with hot coffee when you get there, Han Qian. Remember to bring drinks to your colleagues when you come back. Your work has been shared with you for the past half month. Han Qian nodded vigorously. I know Sister Yang, brothers and sisters, you only have one chance. This iron cock of mine is going to pluck out its feathers. The members of the Huoluo General Department shouted unceremoniously. Brother Qian, a bottle of Coke, as long as it tastes good, I won't refuse it forever. Qian, a bottle of tea costs 8 yuan for a large bottle. Hey, one piece of Wangzhe milk. Rad men. Everyone was not polite. They knew that Sister Yang was making up for them, and Han Qian also understood Sister Yang's intentions. Sister Yang is the head of the general department and takes care of everyone's feelings. She didn't think about trying to bribe anyone to please them. They were all working children. At home, they were the apples of their parents' eyes. She would work hard to take care of them if she could. Now every member of the general department likes Sister Yang very much, and they like and respect her from the bottom of their hearts. Lu Zhuolong felt much younger when he was with these 4 children. He was holding 2 thermos buckets in his hands and leaned close to Su Liang and whispered. Liang give me one to eat first, the dumplings made by Lan Lan. Su Liang chuckled. No. There were cheers and laughter in the elevator. Li Zhuolong did not feel that he had lost face and continued to discuss with Su Liang. Eat one. Then eat one. Su Liang opened the thermos box and took out a dumpling. When Lu Zhuolong opened his mouth, Su Liang fed the dumpling to De Qian. Han Qian couldn't help it anymore, so he took a thermos bucket and said softly. Deputy Lu, beat him. The elevator door opened and Su Liang ran away. Li Zhuolong looked at his back with a grin and gritted his teeth. Run. Even if you are a monk, you can't run away from the temple. You don't even need a car on the weekend. Su Liang, who ran a few meters away, turned around and chuckled. Didn't I ask Daqian to test whether it's poisonous for you? After the words fell, Shan Shan continued. Okay. I'll tell Sister Yang that you said her dumplings are poisonous. Don't. Shan Shan. I'm not teasing Brother Lu. Well, Brother Liang, my dad sells second-hand cars. Can you, leave one for you? I can give it to you whenever you have money. It's okay to borrow it from Brother Lu all the time. I want him to threatening you, ha 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 ha. Su Liang grinned after hearing this. Sister Shan Shan, would you like to introduce a boyfriend to you? What do you think of Qian? Brother Qian is too carefree. I heard from Yang Jia that Brother Qian has 4 girlfriends. As everyone was walking towards the cafeteria laughing and joking, 3 or 4 people walked in from the main entrance of the company. Gao Jingcheng accompanied them with a smile. They were all wearing suits and showed no signs of being angry or intimidating. Han Qian frowned in confusion. People from the Yamen gate? The 2 groups passed each other, and the guy at the front looked familiar. He was the second in command at the gate of the general office. Cheng Jin. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 219. The cafeteria was finished, and Han Qian begged his aunt to give them some leftovers. He acted like a spoiled brat and finally got his aunt to agree to cook some rice and stir-fry 2 dishes for them. The premise was that they were not picky eaters and she didn't charge for it. Everything shows that Han Qian did not waste his food, and this time his arm was injured. The 5 of them joked around the table. Coming to work in the general department every day and going to the cafeteria together were what Han Qian looked forward to most. Couldn't be happier. He gradually fell in love with Lu Zhuolong's character, which was great. If he is single, Han Qian will still match him. If Sister Yang is willing, he will not stop her, but this hope is a bit slim. Lu Zhuolong is a typical optimist. He doesn't get upset no matter how many times he is rejected and continues to laugh and laugh. The aunt brought over 2 plates of dishes, 1 fried liver tip and 1 stir-fried kidney beans. She said softly. You guys, you should also pay attention to your health while working. Your eyes are so red. Eat some liver. It is said to be good for your eyes. The 5 people said in unison. Thank you, aunt. Then Lu Zhuolong was scolded by his aunt. You should call me eldest sister, why are you pretending to be young? Then Suliang said Uncle Lu. Lu Zhuolong was hurt again and whispered that he was not yet 40 years old. The chicken soup has a strong aroma and the chicken is very tender. Han Qian drank the chicken soup and whispered. Brother Lu, thank you. Lu Zhuolong slapped the table and became furious. Call me uncle. Everyone laughed. Very nice. In the conference room of Honor Group, Yan Qingqing's seat used to be replaced. Today, the person sitting here is a middle-aged man, about 50 years old, wearing a pair of glasses and a popular suit. Yan Qingqing and Gao Xingqing sat on his left side, and he brought someone to his right. Yan Qingqing seemed a little reserved, and the middle-aged man looked at Yan Qingqing and said lightly. I've heard for a long time that Mr. Yan of Glory Group is very young. I'm more surprised to see him today than in the rumors. Yan Qingqing replied respectfully. You flatter me. The middle-aged man smiled lightly. My time is very tight, so there is no need to come here and praise you a few words. As one of the backbone forces in leading urban development and construction and driving people to get rich, the Honor Group, as the second in command at the Yamen Gate, should come and take a look. Gao Xingcheng said with a smile. Having a parent official like Mayor Cheng is the pride of our city's citizens. This middle-aged man is the mayor of Hanjian City, and his surname is Cheng. Mayor Cheng replied calmly. I am just a public servant and a waiter for the common people. The Yeomanmen were also established for the common people. There is nothing arrogant about it. In addition, in view of what happened to Mr. Yan not long ago, we express our hatred for the gangsters and our sympathy for them. Mr. Yan apologizes, and coming here today can be regarded as a visit to see if Mr. Yan is okay. Yan Qingqing smiled lightly. Thank you very much, Mayor Cheng, for your concern. Qingqing is fine. He just received a slap in the face and luckily left the scene of the crime early. There was no damage at all. If there must be some money, it's nothing. If there is any loss, our honor group will do our best to assist the Yeomanmen in catching the criminals. Mayor Chen nodded and chuckled. Since Mr. Yan is fine, we are relieved. There is one more thing I want to ask Mr. Yan about. I saw the information sent by the permanent secretary. Han Qian is an employee of your company. I don't know what position he holds. Yan Qingqing and Gao Jishi both guessed that Mayor Cheng came here today to see Han Qian. Yan Qingqing pretended to take out her mobile phone and called Yang Lan. Not long after, Yang Lan trotted all the way to the conference room. Yan Qingqing bent over slightly and panted. Mr. Yan, please find me. Yan Qingqing ignored Yang Lan, turned to Mayor Cheng and whispered softly. She is Han Qian's department manager. Now Han Qian works as a general staff member in our company and has just passed the internship period. Do you want to meet her? Mayor Chen whispered a few words to the secretary next to him, and then smiled. If convenient. Minister Yang, will Han Qian come to the company to work today? What day will he take sick leave for? Yang Lan was confused. Han Qian went to your office when he went to work in the morning. Now you ask me if he came. Yang Lan was confused for a while. Should he say he came or not? After a moment of silence, Yang Lan spoke. Okay, Mr. Yan, I'm going to check on attendance now. Han Qian has a lot of work and didn't report to the general department today. After saying that, Yang Lan turned around and left. Gao Xingcheng watched the two women acting and sneered in his heart, Han Qian hangs around hundreds of times a day in front of you two women. How can you two not know whether he is coming? Can such poor acting skills deceive people at the Yeomanmen? Gao Xingcheng raised his head and laughed softly. Mayor Cheng, we actually met Han Qian downstairs just now. He should still be eating in the cafeteria right now. I'll have someone call him over. Mayor Cheng laughed after hearing this. Eating at this time? Then let's not waste time here. Let's go and see if your honor group's employee meals are up to standard. Let's go. He has already spoken, how can anyone else say no? When getting up, Yan Qingqing cursed Gao Xingchen in a low voice. Talk too much. Gao Xing'ai smiled and ignored it. In the restaurant on the first floor, Han Qian and his group were eating and chatting. Daqian'er was the first to notice this group of people who seemed to have an unusual identity. He gently reminded the people at the table that everyone was turning around. Head looked over. When Yan Qingqing and Gao Xing'ai saw Han Qian, they became angry at the same time. Does this guy still have the time to play poker here? Wearing a suit and holding a cigarette in his mouth, how does this look like a glorious employee? And what's going on with Suliang's bald head? Then something made them even more angry. Han Qian and Suliang just looked at each other and continued playing cards. Gao Xingchen whispered through gritted teeth. Is this someone from your general department? Mr. Yan. Yan Qingqing really didn't want to admit it. She took a deep breath and strode forward. She raised her head and was about to hit Han Qian on the back of the head, but she didn't want to let it go. She slapped Suliang's bald head and whispered. Who asked you to play cards here? Han Qian, please put out your cigarette for me. Vice Minister Lu, remember to give me a reasonable explanation. Lu Zhuolong decisively betrayed his teammates. Qianwan wants to play poker, and I can't stop Han Qian from smoking. Yan Qingqing looked at Han Qian and Qianwan and was furious. At this time, people behind her also came over. Yan Qingqing could only ignore the matter in front of her and stretched out her hand to take out the cigarette butt from Han Qian's mouth and threw it in. Lu Zhuolong chuckled softly inside the thermos bucket. Han Qian, this is Mayor Cheng of our city. After saying this, he turned to Mayor Cheng and smiled. Mayor Cheng, this is Han Qian. Han Qian stood up, stretched out his left hand to shake Mayor Cheng's hand, and grinned. Hello, Mayor of the city, what's your surname? Everyone present was stunned and looked at Han Qian with strange eyes. Could this be a fool? Gao Xing'ai coughed lightly and said in a low voice. Han Qian, it's Mayor Cheng. Han Qian nodded vigorously and said. I know, the city mayor, shouldn't he have a surname? Mr. Mayor, what's your surname? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 220. My surname is Cheng. Han Qian whispered back. That's a bit embarrassing. I thought it was the city's inner city. Mayor, do you have anything to do with summoning the grassroots? Mayor Cheng smiled lightly. It's okay. Young people are quite interesting. Let's find a convenient place to chat. Some things are not suitable for too many people to hear. Han Qian replied with a smile. You seem to have quite a few people. Young man who doesn't want to suffer any loss, can we talk to you alone? The second in command at the Yeomanman came to see him, and he knew exactly what was going on. In the small conference room on the first floor, where Han Qian once threatened Ji Jing's parents, Cheng Jin sat where Han Qian was sitting, and Han Qian sat opposite. There were many people in the conference room, and Han Qian ignored them. He turned his head and said softly. Mr. Yan, how long has the surveillance in this room been broken? Yan Qingqing was stunned for a moment, then said softly. It's been broken for 2 months. I'm going to find someone to check it out. Vice President Gao, can we come together? Now Gao Fulai is increasingly confused about how Han Qian suddenly got involved with several big bosses in the city. Moreover, Mayor Cheng is notoriously difficult to talk to, so he came here specifically to see him today. Han Qian? The two glorious people walked out of the conference room. Cheng Jin motioned to the people at the Yamen gate to go out first, while the secretary stayed in the conference room. Cheng Jin took out a cigarette and threw it to Han Qian, lit it and leaned on the chair and whispered softly. "Comrade Han Qian, are you okay with the gunshot wound on your shoulder?" Han Qian held a cigarette in his mouth, crossed his legs and said with a grin. "I have to thank you for this shot, otherwise I won't be able to explain the relationship between me and Feng Lun. I'm scared when a prosecutor like Feng's Haida comes. Not long ago, he just called and threatened me. You should know that my phone calls were monitored by the city bureau, right? There is no reason why you only heard the call between me and Feng Lun, but not Feng's Haida's call, right?" Cheng Jin smiled and nodded. When he looked at the conference table, Han Qian whispered that just drop the cigarette ashes on the ground. "Someone will come and clean up the place." Cheng Jin smiled and nodded again, saying softly, "Not only did we hear Feng's Haida's call to you, but we also knew that Guan Yun Biao from the 8th district wanted to give you something, but you stopped him. At the same time, I also knew that you seemed to have evidence of Luo Shanda's crime, and handed it over to us." Han Qian sneered after hearing this, then suddenly raised his head and leaned forward, glared at Cheng Jin and gritted his teeth angrily. "Do you think I'm a fool? I have many ways to prove that I'm clean. Did you turn a deaf ear to Feng's Haida's threat to me? Now you want to use Luo Shanda as a scapegoat? What's the next step? Are you telling the Yamanman? As soon as the news is over, you can come to me for revenge at any time. Cheng Jin, don't blame me for disrespecting you. You can shut up if you want me to, but the scapegoat must be Feng's Haida." Cheng Jin's secretary looked at Han Qian coldly and said coldly, "Han Qian, please be respectful." Cheng Jin stretched out his hand to stop the secretary and chuckled. "So you know me and you were acting stupid in the restaurant. I must have seen it on TV. You suddenly came to the company to look for me. I don't want to be too high profile. I think the biggest headache for the Yamen now is not where Feng Lun went, but how to deal with the pressure from above, right? In addition, don't ask me where Feng Lun went, I don't know." Han Qian lowered his head and looked at the patterns on his pants, not looking into Cheng Jin's eyes at all. Looking at each other and chatting was the biggest taboo. Cheng Jin was not angry at all and motioned to the secretary to go out and get some water. The secretary left the conference room. Cheng Jin immediately changed his face and cursed angrily. "You little bastard, you and I are pretending to be confused. Feng Lun said he would come back to seek revenge on Feng's Haida. Who didn't let him come back and told him that you could deal with Feng's Haida? Did you guess that I would come to you? Already?" Han Qian shrugged and nodded. "Li Jinhai came to me several times but didn't get anything useful. Who else can be left? The top leaders are busy dealing with the above, and you are the only one left here. I tell you frankly, I don't know anyone else's evidence of guilt, including Luo Shanda. Glory has received a lot of secret packages recently, do you think I don't know? The warmth of Chang Xiang is my ex-wife, why don't you also check Chang Xiang? I didn't let Feng Lun come back because I was afraid that this grandson would kill me. He shot me twice on the yacht. Let me ask Cheng Jin you, have you ever been shot at when you were so old? Who is wandering on the edge of life and death? Feng Lun is going to humming kill me. If I am not caught at sea, I will die. I was so damned by Feng Lun taken away from the hotel, a bunch of losers chased a bus. Can you believe that no one here helped Feng Lun escape? I am the biggest victim, and your Yamen are still staring at me? I am the most dangerous. So the city will give you personal protection. You're talking about Zheng Jing next door, right? Why are we so destined? I can always see him after work and get off work. We can make a deal. Are you sure that I can't make you agree to my terms without making a deal? You have seen my attitude towards Yan Qingqing and know that when Nuan lives with me, Do you want to touch me? Young man, don't be so angry. How many people are needed up there, understand what I mean? Stop monitoring my phone calls and get back the 1 million I redeemed. I will research and contact Feng Lun to get one for you. As for how to catch Feng Lun, it is your business. As a citizen, you should cooperate with us. Then I had a cracked brow bone, a cracked forehead bone, a hit on the head, a shot in the shoulder, and I spent all the medical expenses myself. How can I also rescue 4 hostages from the hotel? Listen to that. How many gangsters have you identified? Did you execute one of them on the spot? You still killed someone. I said I executed someone on the spot, but I didn't mean that I executed someone on the spot. Don't tell me that you honestly said that this gangster was killed by his accomplices. Are there pig brains in front of the Yaman? Take it out and claim credit. Let's talk about it. There's something inherently wrong with this party. Cheng Jin had a headache. This little brat was giving in, but in reality he was pressing harder. While Cheng Jin was thinking about how to continue the conversation, Han Qian spoke again. As long as I say now that I will help you find Feng Lun's location, can you believe that in 10 minutes there will be someone squatting outside Glory waiting for me to go out? Is the information that Feng Lun has now what everyone wants, or is that the same sentence, you want it? I will give you face and give you a list of several scapegoats, about 3 or 5, but it is impossible for you to ask me to help you find Feng Lun. Besides, I will not embarrass the Yamanman unless it is absolutely necessary. Cheng Jin was silent. At this time, the secretary came back. Han Qian ignored this guy and continued to speak. Originally, there is a problem at your government office. It has not been found out whether Feng's Haida took someone else's position. With so many guns flowing into our city, do you not know who fired them? Explain how you play with a gun. It's not like there isn't a shooting gallery. After playing all afternoon, my arm was almost useless. No. It's useless now. Cheng Jin had a headache, stared at Han Qian and said in a deep voice. Are you sure you can keep a secret? I don't know anything. How can I be exposed if I want to be exposed? But I'm not sure if I will know in the future. Feng Lun wants to use me to attract a lot of people's attention. I'm curious why Feng Lun looks at you differently. Because I'm kind. You should have seen the surveillance of Feng Lun and I's first meeting, right? Man, I paid more than 1,000 yuan for my niece who can't hit her with 7 sticks. The secretary said a few words in Cheng Jin's ear. Cheng Jin looked slightly surprised and looked at Han Qian in disbelief. You also gave 80,000 yuan to the parents of one of your colleagues. That's right. I lost hundreds of dollars in landlord. The company calls me Shan Ke Boise. Han Qian took out another cigarette and was careless. But Cheng Jin had nothing to do with him. He has read this Han Qian's information many times. If he uses force, he will offend the 2 largest groups in the city, and he also has a mother-in-law who is not easy to offend. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 221. Cheng Jin also lit a cigarette and compromised. I need about 5 or 6 people, preferably from the same department. If possible, you'd better give me a few more. We will have to reshuffle the team at the Yaman gate. Han Qian curled his lips and shrugged. How many people can I give you? What I said doesn't count, and what you said doesn't count. I can only wait for Feng Lun to contact me. How about I call Feng Lun in front of you now? That's best. Han Qian took out the antique and found the number Feng Lun called, and called back directly. Pass. Is it so easy to make overseas calls? This should be impossible to get through. Han Qian slowly raised his head and whispered awkwardly. Did you tamper with my phone card? Cheng Jin curled his lips and looked at Han Qian with disdain. Nobody answers the phone. Han Qian breathed a sigh of relief, threw his phone on the table and sighed. "Look, if you don't answer, I won't do that either." Buzz. Before he finished speaking, Gugu started to rebel. Looking at the overseas phone number above, Chang Jin smiled. "If Li Jinhai hadn't vouched for me and I had investigated carefully, I would never have believed that you and Feng Lun had nothing to do with each other. It doesn't matter. I wanted to kill him but didn't do it. He killed me without hesitation." After saying that, Han Qian picked up the phone and answered the call. He didn't speak, and neither did the other party. After a few seconds, the call was hung up. Seeing this scene, Chang Jin couldn't help it no matter how good his temper was. The table roared. "Little bastard, why don't you speak?" Han Qian scratched his head in embarrassment and replied weakly. "I'm a little nervous. I'm thinking about how to say hello in English in Chinese." "Get out of here, you." Chang Jin was really angry. At this time, the phone rang again, but the number became an internet number. After the call was connected, Feng Lun's voice came over. "Brother Han. I will give you what you want, but now you are calling me in front of the big guys at the Yamen gate. You are not a human being." Han Qian curled his lips and spoke. "Which of us is not a human being? Think about it for yourself. You are at large overseas, why should I clean up the mess for you here? After giving me the evidence of several people, it is best to choose one from the Yamen gate. I want that kind of viciousness extremely. There is a foster mother and daughter in the community where you live. Follow the lead and check. I heard that the child just entered the drama academy. Who is next to you? Li Jinhai? Cheng Jin? Or Niu Qiudong? How about you tell me where you got it, and I'll let them catch you, and then I'll be free. Africa is looking at the black boy, come on. Is it raining in Africa? It's raining. Leave me alone. Give me the evidence of your crime. I'm asked for it. Oh, by the way. Is your leg feeling better? Can you walk? I didn't kill you with 2 shots. It was the most correct thing I did in my life. Since it was the old man at the Yemenman who asked me to do it, how dare I disobey you? I have said what needs to be said. I am about to get on the plane. It's time to find my place." The grandson hung up the phone as soon as possible. Han Qian looked at the secretary opposite who was busy sending messages on his mobile phone and curled his lips. "Did you find it?" The secretary snorted coldly. "Internet telephony, it's too difficult to find a network to identify it, data transmission is not that fast, and the world is so big, the technology is not enough. There is no need to look for it in Africa. This grandson is definitely not in Africa. Mr. Cheng, I have given you my sincerity. Can Feng's Haida solve it?" Cheng Jin smiled at Han Qian. "I think I should throw you in, and then continue to let Feng's Haida get away with it, and trick Feng Lun into coming back." Han Qian was not afraid at all and grinned. "The evidence of Feng's Haida's own crime is playing on the big screen. I helped you break the camera. It's already good. What's wrong? Can the people's public opinion bear it? Oh, by the way. I rescued a special girl." Cheng Jin's expression changed, he took out his cigarette case and threw it into Han Qian's arms, saying angrily. "The poor people come from the poor places. Your village is full of honest people. How come you have such a monster? Children from poor families have long been in charge. There are many people looking for Feng Lun now, right? The people in your Yemenman are also looking for me. Maybe those who want to threaten your Yemenman with secrets are also looking for me. It's very dangerous. Why don't you give me a gun, Gatling? It's better to use blue fire, da. Cheng Jin stood up and walked to the door, turning his back to the secretary and said calmly. "Give him a lighter." Cheng Jin's face was ugly when he left. Although he got what he wanted, he couldn't be happy anyway. How could Feng Lun be so damn good at picking people, so he chose such a bad guy who wouldn't take anything he wants. After Cheng Jin left, Han Qian slumped down on the chair. This old man seemed easy to talk to, but every word he said was to test Han Qian's background. If Han Qian didn't have any backers, it might not be what happened today. Woolen cloth. When everyone waiting in the hall saw Cheng Jin walking out with a gloomy face, they suddenly became extremely nervous. Cheng Jin shouted angrily in a low voice as he walked past Yan Qingqing. Smoking in the restaurant? Next time you let me know your glory in the restaurant, please repair it. Who is it? You contact the fire and sanitation people to come and check it? I am so angry. If I were not the mayor, I would definitely. By the way, little bastard, you deserve to be shot. Listening to Cheng Jin's angry shouts, both Yan Qingqing and Gao Jishi had a headache. After seeing Cheng Jin leave, the general manager and the deputy general manager ran to the conference room at the same time. When they entered, they found that no one was there. They asked the front desk to find out what the evildoer was. The general department. The two rushed straight to the 14th floor. In the panic of all members of the general department, Han Qian was taken to Yang Ian's office. Yan Qingqing glared at Han Qian and gritted her teeth. Why did you provoke Cheng Jin? In his position, can he be so angry that you deserve to be shot? Han Qian scratched his head with some guilt. I didn't do anything. I just had a phone call with Feng Lun in front of him. After hearing this, Gao Xing's legs softened and he whined. Uncle Han, can you be more careful? When Cheng Jin goes out, he asks the firefighters and sanitation people to come and check. Why is Cheng Jin looking for you? I made the right call. He asked me for the criminal records of several people. I told him to take out Feng's Haida as a scapegoat. If he didn't agree, I wouldn't give it to him. Then he became anxious. Oh, there's still half a box here. Cigarettes and a lighter, he gave them to me. Han Qian looked at the three people in the office innocently. At this moment, Yang Lan was calmly sitting on the chair, repeating Feng Lun's name repeatedly. Yan Qingqing was also a little anxious. Han Qian grinned at this. It's nothing. Yan Qingqing obeyed and said angrily. What do you mean it's nothing? Cheng Jin came to see you and left angrily. This obviously means that the conversation with you was not pleasant. Outsiders would know at a glance that you definitely didn't give Cheng Jin a satisfactory answer. Now you don't know, I thought you did too. As soon as he finished speaking, Han Qian's cell phone rang. It was Tu Xiao's call. After answering the phone, Tu Xiaolang smiled. My uncle, I heard that Cheng Jin is in trouble at your place. Snapped. Han Qian hung up the phone directly. There seems to be something really wrong.